conversation. Hey everybody, welcome back to part 2. I never usually set out to make part 1, 2, 3 or 4 of anything, usually. It's just the way things seem to go. So at the end of the last episode, we've got as far as the bike is all back together. It's winter here at the moment. It's pretty lousy weather today as well. It's raining. Oh, as you can hear, a car going past in the wet. And I haven't started the bike yet from that first repair. But I did come around the right-hand side of the bike just to check the look of how things are on this side. Because I said in the last video that I'd nipped up the screws underneath on the sump and everything, or on the oil pan. And I have noticed that there's a little bit of oil film again on this side. So the thing about the gearbox, it's got gearbox ATF type fluid in it, which was from a Harley dealership. So that's red. And that's not been ever the colour of the oil that's sort of come out or leaked. Even though I think that gear seal was slightly moist and leaking, and it was. I have to convince myself that it was. We've got still something coming out on this side, which I think is the stuff that's creeping its way around as well. So we've probably got 2 leaks, and I've fixed one and now realise I've got another. But I'll switch the camera around and show you, because I've done a lot of wiping and cleaning and spraying, but I haven't done that for 3 or 4 days. And so I'll show you where it's leaving some residue, and I'm going to have to start taking a few things off this side to fix it, or just see where it might be seeping from. It sort of is around the clutch cable area, but let's have a look. It is a bit hard to see, I have to say, under here, but I'll get the light down. Well, you can see straight away that cable holder here, which has got some wires through it, is it's moist. It's got a film on it. Now, I've cleaned that a number of times, and I did put like a shroud around my clutch cable just to give it some protection as it runs under the bike and stuff. But it's a bit hard to see, but when you open this little crack, you can see how moist or wet that is inside of it. And I think that's where oil is coming from. But it's got this cover on here. If I pull back, you can see it's got a cover. This bike came with a number of chrome accents, and so I need to pull this off. Then we'll have a look. But it's not leaking from the gearbox, because the gearbox is running red ATF type fluid. And so that would be red, and it's never red. It's more of that golden colour, which is more the primary drive oil and the engine oil. So let's pull this cover off and see what we see. Yeah, I'll try and get that back in later, and I won't be able to. Right, let's get you in. I may not need to take this side off in here, but this is the clutch outlet. See if you can see in here. See how wet that is in there? That's sort of wet in there. And this clutch, see, that's wet. But I don't know what from. Sorry, drop the camera. So I don't know what from. I'll take a couple of things more off, and then we'll keep looking. I've taken the footboard off, and it's oil along here a little bit. Now I come over to the top of the master cylinder, and you can see that it's a bit wet by this screw. And this is a new master cylinder that I've bought since I've had the bike, and it's plastic. So it's not immediately obvious that it's bubbling or peeling anything. And everything else on the bike down here, of course, is powder coated. So it's not that I've assumed that oil is beginning to degrade anything under here. So it could well be brake fluid. I will take the lid off, we'll check the level, and then we'll get to cleaning it all, and then make sure that when we put that back on it's nice and tight. But it could be that it's coming out of there, which would be annoying because I've only recently done it. It seemed like a lot of oil to come off if it is coming out of here, but I don't know. That would be, at least we'd find it, I suppose. But very nice. That's the level, there we are. But it's not like mega low. But it could be it, and it's a bit hard to see in around here. Sorry, I've taken the brake pedal off just to try and get some more room, and but maybe it is just creeping along and then along here. But what I'll do is I'll undo the cable ties and I'll give it all a good clean again, wipe everything up, swap out some oil in the reservoir. Probably should pump the brakes, but I'm not sure if you need to do that differently when it's got ABS, to be honest. But I'll clean out that little pot anyway, and see if we can't get the reservoir to look a bit nicer. Clean all this up, all around and around here, and then put the top back on. But you don't want to be swinging on those screws. They're only tiny, but maybe it just wasn't tight enough. So in cleaning up under here, I remembered to myself that this bike doesn't actually have ABS. So I'll be able to do a bit of a bleed from the replacement fluid that I'll pop in there and get to the back wheel and bleed the caliper. So it'll be good. Just going to clean up some of the components before they go back on. The brake pedal, re-grease the shaft, things like that. Might as well while I'm here. Clean the two big hex head screws, which are enormous and whose threads are very dry, so we'll give them a clean and a copper grease up. I sprayed the footboards a few weeks ago and they've stayed nice because they do get a bit rusty under there, don't they? This is certainly not a tutorial, it's more of a follow along and watch me muddle my way through a repair sequence of discovery as I find out things on the way. But maybe this is what happens in your fixing experience. I usually use a little bit of lubrication when I use some Auto Sol, just to not sort of have it too dry. But, makes it look nice again. Right, so we've got the washer on the inside. Put this on, tip it back so we can get it into the slot. Little O-ring and the washer. Right, now I need to manipulate my hands in there somewhere to put in the little washer and the little pin. So I'm going to do that and I'll see you in a minute. Just using a kitchen towel to soak up the oil that's in there, because it'll still have it in the line. Right. Gosh, it's like grey, look. It's just dirty. So hopefully I might get a bit of back braking back. It's like a grey smear, so I'll clean all that up and then we'll top that off. I've got a little jar ready at this end, and then we'll watch the fun and games of trying to bleed the rear brake. All right, all clean. I'm going to top it up. Hopefully it doesn't go everywhere. Oh, then we'll start bleeding. It's dot 4. Well, that looks a bit cleaner. It's not full of air, which is nice. It's just dirty. Gosh, that is dark brown. It's horrible. So I'm going to pump it a few times, like through, and when it starts coming through clean, I think it might be clearing up a bit already, but see if I can show you. That's pretty dark and horrible. I reckon you're supposed to change your fluid every couple of years. Maybe that leak, after all, was saying, change me. I've swapped over the little jar, and I'll show you the difference in a moment. It's now coming out the same way as it's going in, but the difference between the two jars is quite remarkable. Right, that's the jar on the left that we started with. And that's some ugly old oil right there. And then we've just finished with this one, which is lovely and golden, which is the colour of the new oil. So we'll get rid of that. This is the top cap, and these are a bit of a so-and-so to clean, aren't they? But make sure it's all dry. It's a plastic base, it's a plastic top, so it won't sort of leak and wrinkle everywhere, but just got to make sure it gets a nice mating surface with it, with the lid onto the base, so that it doesn't, with the air going around it, draw any of the oil up and through. So I don't, like I said, I don't want to swing on the screws, but I'm going to have to tighten them a bit more than last time, obviously. So, right, we'll make sure that that's ready to go on the bike. Well, finally, it is a nice enough day to get the Iceberg and the old Stallion out. So we're going to go for a ride, both of us. And this gives us the opportunity to check on those oil matters, to see whether we've got anything coming from the brake master cylinder area, which is that secondary issue. And I think the primary drive oil seal is going to be fine. Now that we've doubled up and changed all that out, but it's mainly on the right side of the bike. So let's see how we get on after the ride. Traffic, I'll show you. How was that? Flipping traffic. apart from just Hidday. Anyway, we've made it to the bike shop. How far would it be? 15 k's?
Yeah.
And just going to do a quick preliminary look over the bike, especially on that right side, to see if there's anything leaking, but let's have a look.
And then inspection.
Oh. Right, so this was the offending area, I think, the master cylinder. And I have to say, using the brakes today, I just about flipping locked up the rear because it was absolutely amazing. But this is where some of it sort of was along here, remember? And that's dry as, so it's not far, but you know, the bike's got warm enough. I can't see anything, but we'll ride it back home a bit later on. We'll go for a bit of a longer way home, and we'll see how it looks a bit later on. Couldn't smell any smoke, or that sort of oily smell. So far so good. Let's go and have a look around the bike shop. So this is what we've come to have a look at, the CVO Ultra. What is it, a 15? With like 30 odd Ks on it or something, not too bad. It's nice in this colour. But it's a Rushmore series, which is the style I would like to go to next. It's got the 110, although it's got a 100th anniversary badge on the horn, which is interesting, but anyway. It's got the new way of doing the bags. It's got a fancy as seat.
I didn't know that did that.
It's like a CVO feature thing, is it? Has it got a button in the middle for remote locking?
It does.
Ooh! So you can lock your bags. If I have a little look in here. See this little mechanism, it's got a cable, and I think it's got like central locking. It looks like it's got all of its original parts with it, which is great.
You never guess where it's from.
Road and Sport?
Rolling Thunder.
Oh, Christchurch.
Christchurch.
So let's have a look at the dashboard. So this is lovely. So it's got all the heated grips and like the CVO edition mirrors and 110 twin cam, which I really like the twin cam. Some say it is the only proper Harley engine.
It is. 04 Heritage, I believe.
Oh look, the starter motor is in there. And it doesn't look like it's dripping.
The speaker grills are like matte, like they've gone.
Oh.
It's a bit rusty there.
Oh.
Average.
I wonder if they have a catalogue with parts that you could pick from to enhance that. He says.
That's a bit of plastic.
It's a nice bike.
I feel like a scratch.
Oh.
Piece of.
No.
70% off. It's not a question of which one, it's like how many.
Oh yes. You can get two for $100 off. Yeah. This is a bit annoying.
Yes, I know, right? I'm not sure what do you do with this piece?
Accessorize or.
Well, like that. Finding the bargains.
Have the ability to do
All looking nice and dry under here. So that's good. So the primary side's good. So currently at the next bike shop, and a few little spits of oil in there. You can see the darker spots. But one of the guys popped out and said he's having alright, and this is, well, I'd say not leaking, but there's a bit of blowback obviously. So I'm just going to clean that up. But that's not contributing to the stuff underneath. So this is now the third thing. But I think it might be a slightly red herring because it's spitting forward, but it's not actually a leak. So we'll clean this up and get it back together and check it back when we get home, and then check the oil level back at home. I'll check it now actually. So that's the third type of oil emission from this bike. The splashing, the little sort of splashing marks is from this, and it was wet. So I'll give that a like a brake clean when I get home. So it's always something to learn. This machine I've found, but it's good though. Right, back together. The phone fell off the bike, so whoops. Right, we're going to finish our coffees, and then we'll head back home and then do another check for oil seepage. But I think we're looking all right. Here we are at TSS, where I got the bike from. Great shop, great
Our
people.
second home.
Our second home. Oh, yes, we've been shopping at the Harley place as they actually go out of having the brand there. So some bargains were had. The weather continued to be nice, which is good. We have made it back home. I'll just flip you around. And everything seems to be all right so far, which is great. I will get up a bit closer in a minute and make sure everything's okay. That's Junior's bike. Now, the Harley shop over in Lower Hutt in Wellington, they are stopping being the Harley dealer at the end of the year. We are currently nearly in August and they're going to stop at the end of the year. But they were selling stuff like this 70% off. They're ridiculously priced anyway. $224 for that. So that was about $60, which is more like it. I got my next oil change just because they had discounts even on oil and consumables. I've already got primary oil, so I didn't need to get that. A oil filter tool that actually has a socket ratchet part, which I thought was great, and just another little spare stand to have on the bike or use in the garage. So a few little bargains that we got at the bike shop. Well, here we are back down underneath, and I'm looking around this sort of area. There's the lid up under there. That seems to be dry. This was where it used to sort of get wet, and it's not. It's completely clean. I mean, there may be a little bit of residual as the bike sort of goes through some heat cycles, but that is dry, all dry along here. You know, again, I'm just sort of, that's clean. Under here is dry that I can see. Over the top, that's dry. Not that that was ever wet, but I do think it was sort of just maybe the wind effect around here was venturing it out somehow, maybe, but maybe it just wasn't clamped down hard enough. Some of those spots that were up the front were from the overflow pipes that go into the top of the carburetor, the throttle body, but the carburetor area, the air intake. And that was a bit wet, so we will just pop that off, clean that filter down, and that should eliminate, because it wasn't pooling under here and dripping, but it was certainly in behind this. It was in the oil filter, the air filter. So we'll give that a wash and just keep an eye on that going forward, which I think was, like I said, at the bike shop, that's a third type oil issue. That was a bit of a red herring. I think it was a bit splashy. I made the assumption that it was this. The bike shop fellow told me about the breather sort of aspect of this, and they sort of do that, and Evos were even worse. But I think we may be on top of it. So I dropped my phone holder, fell over at the bike shop. That's why that abruptly finished. And I ran out of batteries at the gas station. So, you know, I'm a bit of an amateur at this, but that's the washer at the back of the gear selector mechanism. It looks okay. That's the clips. It's not a spline, it's the clip. All looks dry and fine. I'll keep an eye on that going forward, but like I say, I think we might be onto a bit of a winner. A little bit of clean cloth that I can wipe it over with. I just think this looks nice on it. Good. So the rear brake master cylinder is dry, and today didn't seem to give any indication that it was letting any of its contents out. I have to say the rear brake, if I may have mentioned this already, the rear brake today was just so much better with that new fluid all through it. The underside of the bike, which we looked at just before, but that's showing itself to be dry and not sort of damp or weepy or anything's run along it. The primary drive and the gear output side all just seems to be dry as well. So it looks like we're keeping the oil that's supposed to be inside the bike in its relevant places inside the bike. I will keep an eye on it for the next couple of rides, but and I'm going to ride tomorrow. The weather's supposed to be good tomorrow. This has been about 3 weeks to get this video made because of the weather, because it's just winter here and it's just been raining, and the times that I've been available to ride the bike, it hasn't been suitable outside, or it's been dark or whatever. So I think we're getting there, and I think we've actually chased down, as the title of the video would indicate, we've chased down the leaks, and hopefully everything will stay where it's supposed to be. If you've enjoyed this series, this double episode series, and the other content on Bobberbob's channel, please do consider giving me a like for the video and a subscription as well. It certainly is great to engage with the people who leave comments and ask questions and want information on a number of my videos. So thanks for that interaction in this great motorcycling community that we have. So until next time, this is Bobberbob, wishing you all the best, ride safe, keep well, and we'll see you in the next one.